Welcome back to the Geelong Regional Footy Show. I hope you enjoyed the match day action. As we look to the panel discussion, and I'm joined firstly from BFL scribe for the Geelong Advertiser and a very keen observer of all things BFL, it's Luke McCullough. Thanks for joining us again.
It's lovely to be here again.
Now, by way of full disclosure, before we progress further, I think it's important that our viewers be aware of your ancestry, which only became apparent to me in recent weeks, but tell us a little bit about your late granddad, who was an absolute force in Geelong footy.
Yeah, so Ray Gurry was my grandfather, and he was one of the coaches in the Geelong Football League. And as I've been hearing from you, he was one of the top blokes, a legend in the umpiring industry, and yeah, it's a legacy that we have in our family.
Yeah, he was an absolute ripper, Ray Gurry. And of course, that means that your uncles are three guys that are well known in footy and cricket circles in the Geelong region: David Gurry, Michael Gurry, and also Andrew Gurry. And Mick in particular actually played league footy.
Yeah, he played 7 games for Geelong. Not a very good career at Geelong, but yeah, one that we always like to talk about, and he always brings it up at Christmas time and all that. But yeah, it's very good that he made it up that far, and we're proud of him.
Oh, I think I'd be proud of anyone that's played league footy. Moving along to Alex Tigani, and great to have you here representing the GDFL. Your work in the Geelong Advertiser is to be admired as always, and your broadcast quality work. But you're gaining a really strong affection for Thompson last week and also in coming weeks. Tell me about that.
Yeah, oh, firstly, thanks for the welcome. That's a hard act to follow with the Gurries over there. But yeah, no, look, I didn't give him enough love this season. I was in their face at the Godfrey Street all of last year, just admiring the world's tallest goalpost. So this year I thought, let's make up for it. We saw heaps of great footage just before against Geelong West. This week they play North Geelong. They'll just test some matchups, and then first week of the finals at St Albans Reserve. Elimination final time.
And Josh Conway from the Geelong Footy League, great to have you in here. And obviously there was a cracking finish in the game between Bell Park and St Mary's over the weekend.
Yeah, awesome. Second, played third, Wes, and real nail-biting thing. Dissect a bit later on.
We certainly will indeed. Let's start with the GDFL with Alex Tigani. And we heard a little bit earlier from Thompson defender Samuel Jacker. Tell us about your thoughts on his thoughts.
Yeah, well, Samuel Jacker, aka Leo Barry, of course, he was the saviour in our interleague victory with just those flying marks down back. And I tell you what, Thompson do look like they could pose a bit of a threat on first semi-final day, but of course they need to win the elimination final first. They're playing against North Geelong. At the time of that interview, I rated North Geelong as, you know, a well-matched contender, but then on Sunday, or we have to go back, 4 days now, Sunday, North Geelong were just depleted against Belpost Hill. Sunny conditions, we're not used to that in the GDFL, given how cold our winter was, but no, it was interesting there. Look, as for Thompson, I've been a bit harsh in saying that they've had a Whitley medal contender in Reece Holwell. Unfortunately, he won't play this weekend, but still come to the game. And then there's been a massive gap between the next best players. I think I'm going to take that statement back now, because Samuel Jacker is an interleague player, former Joey's junior, fantastic work. Alex Denham against his old side, brilliant off half back. Lavers, we call him Rod Laver Arena. He's actually, yeah, that's not his real name, but look, 18 disposals on the weekend, fantastic around the inside ball. I could keep listing them, but you know, we're accused that one of our other panel shows is the Thompson Footy Show, so I'm not going to bring that accusation to this esteemed panel.
I do want to ask you about Thompson though,
Yep.
and Reece Holwell. What is the prognosis for him?
Okay, so what happened was about 12 minutes into the final term, he hobbled off with an ankle injury. It was iced up. Glenn Myers looked after it, ice buff. Went on scans on Sunday, and thankfully there's no breaks in it. Hopefully he'll return to the field first final, and they desperately need him, no doubt, given he is one of our league's finest talents, even though he's in the 30s. But humorously, I know this isn't an AFL show, but he is a dedicated Richmond supporter. He limps off, sits on the check, looks at our beautiful new electric scoreboard, and the first thing he sees was Richmond still couldn't get the chocolates over Geelong. So I don't know what he was more upset about, Wes, the injury or the hoodoo. It's been 11 years now that the Catters have gone up the Tigs, yeah.
Well, I want to travel 1 kilometre east.
Yes.
And in fact west to east. And that is Richmond Crescent, and that is to find out a little bit more information about East Geelong and their recruit.
Yeah, well, you know, they had 2 games left. Shane Bailey and Ruben Vesicuri told them they won't be doing the senior job next year, but they're both integral parts of the East Geelong community. So they thought they'd try something different. You know, all coaches try something different. I'm sure you ask your your uncle about, all the stuff Malcolm Blight must have put on the table before his games. But, East Geelong, they're looking, what can we do to bring the crowds in? And they got the Canadian out of the reserves, Steve Setka. So he's played 7 games, 2 goals in the reserves. They put him against Bannockburn, which is no easy task. And 8 disposals later, welcome to senior football. An amazing story. And yeah, Wes, you talk about 1 kilometre away from Thompson. Well, he's playing, I don't know how many Ks it is from Winnipeg to...
Other side of the world.
Yeah, but and what's fantastic, this year is also the first year that his hometown in Canada has their first Aussie rules team. So who knows, he gets a name for himself in our league. He goes back there and he teaches the locals, well, let's face it, this is the best game in the world, what it's all about.
We will increasingly talk about premiership contenders, but I know that you are a particular fan of Belpost Hill, despite the great form of Inverleigh, despite the threat that Bannockburn continues to pose, but you continue to talk up the Panthers.
Well, firstly, I'm a fan of 12 clubs and I dislike 12 clubs. When you're in the media, you can't have favourites. But realistically, you look at our competition, the best ruckman plays for Belpost Hill, the best midfielder, Adrian Fantella, and a thank you for him to appearing on our show last week. He plays for them. Best defender by a country mile is Cam Addy. So there's 3 pivotal players. And they've got another 7-star power players that are still yet to come into the side. So they play Anarchy. I think we'll finish this segment on this note. They play Anarchy. My records tell me they haven't lost to Anarchy since 1998. So, I don't know, were you born yet?
No, I wasn't born in 1998.
There you go.
1 year off.
I'm going to finish my segment with that stat. What do you reckon, Wes?
That's a ripper. Thank you very much, Alex Degani. We'll be back with more on the other side of this sponsors break here on the Geelong Regional Footy Show.